hearing aids that look like IEMs. Okay. Hello and thank you for clicking on this video where I'll be sharing my experience of the Retekess Hearing Sense 1, which is a $230 hearing aid, but it seems it's always on discount and you could get them to about $100. But anyway, these are leaning towards hearing aids rather than an audiophile grade earbud. But will it still bring you sound that will discard your other earbuds? Before we dive deeper into that, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Retekess for sending this unit in exchange for my honest feedback. However, as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own and are not influenced by any parties. If you've been enjoying my content, please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button. That will help the channel a lot and I appreciate your support. But the unboxing is pretty straightforward, but in terms of accessories, it comes with a band to hook to your earbuds, which is great so you don't accidentally lose one of them by accident. It also comes with interchangeable ear tips and it comes with a standard charging cable. The case itself is quite small but it's a little chunky in depth, but it still feels very compact and lightweight, although the lid has no give, so that gives it a bit of a cheap feeling, and I wish there's just a bit more sturdiness to this, but more of a nitpick. The design of the earbuds are pretty straightforward. Imagine earpods but with physical buttons on each side, and a thinner nozzle and flange ear tips. That's pretty much the design of these earbuds. They are made out of plastic, but I guess that's the intention, to make this thing lightweight, which they are, and testing them, they just sit comfortably inside my ears, and the flange ear tips just gives it that extra fit security and seal. However, I've seen hearing aids go in much deeper into one's ear, which these do not, so that may be something to consider, as different people have different levels of hearing loss, and depending on that level, you might want something that goes in much deeper into your ears. But if you have mild hearing loss, this should be sufficient, but always good to try this out first if possible. Just running through some functions and features, it has an IP64 waterproof rating, so usual light showers but no dunking in water. Supports up to Bluetooth 5.0, which is a little old at this point, which means coverage won't be as good as a lot of other TWS in the market. It has a total time of 48 hours with the charging case, 12 hours on its own, so more than ample time of usage before needing a charge. It also has an infrared detection mode, so once the earbuds are secured in, you'll hear a beep confirming that the device is ready. When I first tested them, especially when you don't have hearing loss, it's going to be a bit jarring and it'll take some time to get used to. Imagine your headphones transparency mode but a little bit more boosted and more focused on the higher frequencies of sound. So sharp sounds will get emphasized, for example taps or knocks or anything within that region. It'll get boosted and you'll hear it with a bit more emphasis, which is a good thing for anyone with low or moderate hearing loss, as those frequencies are the ones that gets muted or masked. So at least these earbuds will help with those sounds. But it's also smart in a way where not everything in the environment gets boosted. So if there's rain or heavy winds, it's not going to be boosted where you'll be hearing every single raindrop or harsh winds blowing inside of your ear. So in that sense, these earbuds are quite smart. If you are ever curious what Daredevil hears, then these earbuds will give you like a preview of that. There are a few caveats to note. This is definitely not for anyone looking for a high-res audio experience, and you shouldn't be expecting that. There's this noise floor that's constantly present, but again, if you have hearing loss, that noise floor won't be as audible. But for me personally, it was really distracting and it was bleeding to most audio sources I played with. There's also a pause every time it switches its functions, so if you're not using it with your phone, it'll disconnect from it and switch to the normal transparency boost mode. So there will be a pause, it'll say disconnect, and then you'll hear the atmosphere being boosted. It's not a seamless transition is what I'm trying to allude to. Also, during the normal mode, while the higher frequencies are boosted, the sound of voices from videos are a little bit thinned out and somewhat muted in a way. It's like someone covered their mouth as they're speaking, but the environment sound still comes through clear. However, the good thing is that all that can be adjusted through the app. So running through that, just a quick note, the app for this device is called Hearing Sense. It's not called the Retekess app, so it took me a while to find this app, but just thought you should know. Also, when I tried pairing it, I had to use the over-ear setting instead of the in-ear setting to get this thing paired up, so it was a bit odd there, but it connected successfully, and once you're in, you'll be greeted by the interface where it shows you the battery life of the earbuds at the top corners. Then you have the control setting where it has 4 different presets for you to choose from. If you go into the personalization, you can adjust the volume on either side of the earbuds to suit your listening needs, and there's even noise reduction, which is pretty much the setting for transparency mode or ANC. If you select strong, it'll mute more of the outside noise, and with off, the environment is going to be boosted a lot more. Also, if you don't see any EQ settings here, you just need to tap the human at the top and select experienced user instead of new user, and they'll open up the EQ settings, but there's only like a 3-band EQ. And something to note, when changing these as you're listening to music, there's this really jarring sound as it's adjusting itself to the new EQ setting. It's not a smooth transition, so you might want to pause your music first, adjust the settings, and then play it back. But from my personal testing, the differences are very, very minor, even though I've boosted it into max, so I personally just stuck with stock since there's not much play there. Back to the main interface, you have the devices tab where you can test your device to make sure it's working. You can reset it if there are any issues, and there's even a setting to find your earbuds if you happen to misplace them at home. In the personalization tab, it's pretty much an audio test for you to test how much hearing loss you're experiencing. I'm not sure how accurate this test is because it says I have mild hearing loss, which is a little surprising, so take that as you will, but the feature is there if you want to use it. The More tab is just there in case you need support or if you have any questions about the earbuds, so a pretty straightforward app, but definitely required to fully maximize the earbuds capabilities. So I'm not really going to go too much into sound because at stock, it's almost doing the opposite of what it's intended to do. As mentioned earlier, people with hearing loss, or as you get older, you lose the ability to listen to the higher frequencies of sound, so typically you'd think the treble will be boosted or even overly boosted to counter that issue. But the Hearing Sense did the opposite, where they've reduced the upper regions of the frequencies, so it sounds muted and sounds a bit muffled. So when it comes to listening to music or videos, it just sounds a little bit muffled and definitely not my preferred pick when it comes to media consumption. So to sum it all up, an audiophile item for seniors? Not really, but a device that can help out with anyone having mild to moderate hearing loss in a form of an earbud. Yep, these are what the Retekess Hearing Sense 1 does. And it's also a bit more affordable compared to custom hearing aids, but they'd have to understand that it comes at a compromise of the sound quality from media consumption, as mentioned earlier. However, this is all based on one man's experience, and I'm curious to know your thoughts. Do you know anyone who's suffering from hearing loss and would benefit from this item? Comment below and let me know. And with that all said, thank you once again to Retekess for this opportunity and to all of you for watching. Until the next video, take care and happy listening.